Hi, guys. Thanks for listening to the Gig Economy podcast. I'm here with Jesper and Abdul Kazim, the CEO from Display Ride. And basically, this is the gist that I know of it, is just a device in the car that protects you and the passenger. So what we're going to do in this podcast is Abdul's going to kind of tell us what it's about, and then we'll kind of go into some discussion points.
Okay.
Great. Abdul, why don't you tell us about a little bit about Display Ride, how you got it started, and a little bit about it.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you guys and share with you our vision for Display Ride. Display Ride got started about 2.5 years ago. We are basically based in Silicon Valley, although I'm personally based here in close to New York City. And our focus has been the rideshare market. Specifically, we were focused on safety. And I think Jasper was telling me, how he drives around and stuff like that. Of course, everything is not like Michigan, right? So, in in LA and think you were having an increasingly, concerning amount of issues, especially around safety, right? And so we decided to address that issue. And when we looked at that issue, right, we saw there were and there are lots of what we I would say solutions in parentheses. Basically, these were like dash cam solutions, which were drivers would pick him up and put it on just to sort of record what transpired and things of that sort. So it was mostly like trying to find something that existed to address a solution, right? Our philosophy was different. We started literally from the ground up to really address the solution, the problem rather, with a solution that made sense. We were not necessarily. In fact, we don't really like to call ourselves as a dash cam company. We are not. We're trying to address the safety and whatever it takes. And I think as we discuss more, you'll discover that we are not really like a tablet or a product oriented solution. We are a solution which really provides safety in a more holistic sense. So our focus has really been threefold, right? To deter any safety incidents. Actually, let me step back and say what safety, first of all, defines safety, right?
Right.
When we talk about safety, we are talking about any incident within the vehicle, and that could really mean anything that jeopardizes the safety, as well as it makes for an unpleasant experience as well, right? Anything could be from just a abusive communication between the driver and the passengers, whatever, things of that sort. Or it could be much more serious, of course. And there have been a lot of serious incidents where there is criminal activity, there is even murder and rape and things of that sort. So it covers the entire spectrum of what transpires. But then, that was literally how we started. But then we extended, safety is not just that, right? Now, safety also means that you wear a mask, for example, given the pandemic. Right? Safety also means how the guy drives, right? It's not just, within whatever transpires within the vehicle. I mean, the guy may drive like crazy, jeopardizes the life of everyone. So we expanded the definition of safety. And our solution essentially tried to do three things, right? First of all, we try to deter any untoward incidents from happening, right? So try to keep it safe. That's the best way. Prevention is the best cure, obviously.
Yep.
Clearly, we can't do that. That is why, in airport, you still have all these kind of, crazy security measures. So we cannot have 100% security. So, but what we do is we also, if there is an incident and we discover there is an incident ongoing, we try to mitigate that incident. Too often, these incidents or these issues around safety they're not like binary. It's not like just 1 second something happens. Usually, it escalates, over a period of time. So as soon as we discover something, we try to mitigate that. By creating an alert or some sort of fashion. So there's an intervention, proactive intervention. So to be safe. It doesn't get to the extent that it more often than not does. So that's the thing. Finally, we document everything, and this is an important element. We try to credibly document everything that happened. within the vehicle. We document how the person drives, throughout the journey. So we have all the data. So in case there is an incident, right, what happens, for example, if there's a safety incident, for example, and this happens so often where the passenger complains, especially for drivers. He says, oh, the driver was rude to me, and he gives a 1 rating or something. And those are horrible things, because for a lot of drivers, especially on the East Coast and West Coast, a lot of the drivers are immigrants.
Right.
And for them, this is a full-time gig. And losing it means, losing livelihood. Right, so it's a pretty serious thing. And what happens is, especially these lot of falls, and lot of times the passenger's drunk or whatever, right, and they are abusive, whatever, and then and then they complain to Uber or Lyft or whatever, right? And guess what? First thing they do is they just kick them out of the platform. They deactivate you, right? And what do? So you wait for them. And the way it works at this point is, when a passenger lodges a complaint, for example. These companies will investigate. They try to be Sherlock Holmes. And guess what? They do not have evidence. Usually it's a he said, she said thing.
Yep.
Obviously conflicting, right? So you have some junior people usually, and all these rideshare companies on the front end managing these kind of issues. And it takes a couple of weeks. And guess what? They will just make, I don't know, whoever seems more convincing, I guess, right? So it's not fair or credible. So what we do is we record everything from when the ride begins to when the ride ends. Everything is there. So, and it's neutrally recorded. There's no intervention by the driver. The driver cannot manipulate anything. So we record everything. So, in case there is an incident, you get, for example, a video and audio recording. Audio is a little bit fuzzy because of jurisdiction,
Yep.
But audio, video, we have clear vision, we have complete clarity of what transpired.
Yep.
So there is it, and first of all, instead of the 2 weeks, 3 weeks that it takes, now within a matter of a minute or so, what happened, who's at fault, solve the case, right? So that's another important element that I'd like to emphasize. We have our solution, right? We are trying to help the drivers, the passengers, and the rideshare companies, and ultimately the insurance companies. Everybody value chain kind of benefits, and that's what our solution is, sort of focused on. Not really like one thing only for the drivers thing. Obviously, drivers are a very important element of our solution, right?
Yep.
And we have a lot of features, and we've extended it beyond just the technology. We've also worked with, for example, if there's an incident, for example, right? Typically. And Uber and Lyft have to take action, right? I mean, they have to take something. And today, what happens is they're kind of say, hey, you're deactivated. We'll call you back when we finish the investigation. What we do is we actually, we can provide, the driver can have immediate access to the video because it's in their vehicle, right? They own the thing. And we have something called an incident reporting system that just at a click of a button, we send the video to Uber or Lyft or whoever. And we also send it to a bunch of attorneys who are competent in this rideshare market. So what they will do is they'll look at it and say, man, the drivers are not at fault. And they will immediately draft a letter and say, hey, you cannot deactivate it. Here is the thing. And Uber and Lyft are more apt to take action because they have, credible evidence. So they cannot just, whimsically kick out anybody.
So your advantage with you submitting the video is because of the attorney actually sends the letter, because what's preventing us, since I do have a dash cam in my car, what's preventing me from just sending the file to Uber myself saying, hey, this is what happened?
Absolutely, you could do that. No problem, Jason. However, we are trying to obviously make it easy, right? You need to know. Yep. I mean, you look like you're pretty tech savvy and so on, right? Yeah. Drivers aren't. They have to take the SD card out and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll have to mail it. Imagine if there's an incident, usually you're emotionally probably a little bit disturbed, right? And all that sort of thing. So you have to figure out who do you sell to, all these things. How do you upload? All these seemingly small things for a tech competent person who's done all this stuff. But for a driver in that circumstance may not be the most easy thing. So on our stuff, you just press a button, it'll go automatically, and if the attorney actually views it and he sees, man, there's something wrong here, and the passenger was abusive, and the driver really, has a case, they will actually call the driver in a matter of minutes And so the driver has some solid authority behind them, like legal authority, right? Currently, again, you have to understand from a context of a typical driver who may be an immigrant or whatever. They don't know how to navigate through the system.
True.
You contact, so we make their life easy, right? So now they have credible evidence. If they're not at fault, they have nothing to worry about. There is legal support, and Uber and Lyft cannot just ignore them anymore.
And
right?
and that, I think you bring up a thing you mentioned a couple of times. You say credible, right?
Yeah.
And that's an important word here, I think. And I guess my question to you is, do you have examples of where you have actually already sent it to Uber and Lyft and they have responded to it quicker than if you or somebody else would just send it? Because here's you mentioned it yourself. You said you guys are essentially a third party with no vested interest for either or, right? So you are like a trusted third party that you can send the information to Lyft or Uber or to other rideshare company, and they will then have a better, you would think at least, have a better trust in that footage. Right. So I guess that brings up, have you had any examples of that?
So actually, now I'm sure you guys are aware, there have been a lot of horrible incidents recently, right? Especially, in California and things like that. And also in DC, I mean, unfortunate, really horrible. So what's happened is actually Uber and Lyft are now asking proactively, send us the video, right? They're asking that. They've in fact sent a message to all the drivers saying, hey, please send us some stuff. So, obviously we can do it on their behalf by just, clicking. The other aspect to know, and again, these are small nuances, but I think you guys can appreciate it, right? See, it's not, we can take a real life example, a use case, right? For example, in California, I remember, I think this video went up viral, right? Where these 3 girls or whatever, they attacked this Uber driver, and they were like literally punching him, spitting on him and all that stuff. Yeah. And the guy was trying to take, he was actually recording it on his thing, but they attacked and they were trying to take the dash cam itself and throw it out.
I remember the video. Yep.
Right. I mean, it's garnered millions of hits, I think. So with our stuff, right? As soon as it's recorded, right, it is uploaded onto the cloud. We have a wireless connection. Here is let me see. Here is a sample of our device, right? It just is like this, and it has a SIM card, a wireless connection. It automatically uploads on. So even in the case when somebody, with a malintent tries to destroy, the idea is they'll think, hey man, you're recording, I'm going to, destroy your phone or whatever you're recording through, then you will not have the evidence. That's how a normal person will think, right? Especially somebody with a malintent. But with ours, it's already up on the cloud. That information is on the cloud. So even if something happens, we'll be able to take that information and present it. So that's extremely helpful. These kind of small, it's nuanced thing, but it's very important. So bottom line is, see, our device, right? We just, by the way, we put it right in the on the dashboard. It actually faces the windshield, so it faces outward. Okay. So it's unlike most of the so-called dash cams, which are like small entities, which are probably on the rear view mirror or whatever it's stuck, right? Ours is just like this, and it just has a USB cable with a lighter. You just put it on, and that's it. Nothing else you got to do. Just put it on, and we have a mount, and I'll send you pictures so you guys can see. You just mount it, and that's it. It's it. One cool thing about it also is we have a display, right? So that's pretty cool, and we can actually put your name on it or your license plate ID, and that's very important. I don't know if you guys are familiar. There's something called Sammy's Law. That's
from North Carolina or South Carolina.
Actually, it happened in South Carolina for a girl from here, right, New Jersey. So because she was I guess inebriated or whatever after a club in the night, and she got into a vehicle she thought was Uber. And of course, unfortunately, she was killed and things of that sort. So with this, you have a very clear thing. You'll say, okay, your number. We can also put logos and whatever else. So that's another interesting thing. And this is also important, in a busy location, right, where you have many cars and things like that. You're not going to look at, it says, Toyota Camry is coming, right? And, it's whatever, this number plate. You're not able to see, especially in the night times, you're not able to see the license plate. So it just makes it easier. And we can also one other area we're going to is we are also addressing fleet owners, right?
Right.
So and all that, so they can also put their logo and things like that. So small things like that, and a few other things also, Jason, if I may. Um, for example, when you get in the vehicle, right, as a passenger, when you get into a vehicle, you automatically get a recording saying, "Hey, this ride is being video recorded." Right? Again, that serves as a simple thing, very simple, but it serves as a deterrent. Right? And it keeps on playing ever so often, every 5 to 10 minutes, it keeps on playing. So it kind of reminds you, psychologically there is impact. You are aware, so
Right.
less likely to do it. It doesn't. I mean, some guy's crazy. Of course, you can't do anything. But for most people, who are in a hot-headed, whatever, they come, they're in a bad mood. Those are the guys who create trouble, right? So
Right.
they come and stuff like that. It comes reminding, it says, okay. Then they sort of modulate the behavior a little bit. So we do that. The other thing is we have some features where we can actually now with the COVID thing, we can actually look if the guys are wearing a mask or not. Okay, that's an added feature. And also, with Uber and Lyft, because in a lot of places and outside the United States. By the way, we are a global company. We operate outside the US as well. A lot of places, especially guys, like what they do is they'll rent a vehicle from a fleet owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they pay, and they will maximize the rental, obviously, right? So what they will do is they'll say, okay, but obviously they can only go so many hours. So they will drive for like 10 hours per day or 20 or 15 hours, and they will give the rest to his buddy, and they'll split the cost, things like that. So Uber and Lyft doesn't want, if you are the driver, you're the driver. You can't have somebody else drive on your behalf. So we can take pictures. Currently, they ask you to take a selfie and stuff like that. But all those are like, hodgepodge solutions. Like, you can take a selfie. They'll ask you once in a way. And, I mean, I can just step out of the vehicle, right? I mean, I can just take a selfie, send it out, and step out of the vehicle, and my buddy gets in. So with ours, you can keep on monitoring it and all that because it's recording what's going on. So there's a lot of these small things that we have, and we think we differentiate ourselves significantly against all these other guys.
All right, Abdul, take a breath, have a drink of water.
We got
questions, so.
Well, obviously, it's good to see that you obviously are very passionate about your product. But I can certainly see it solving a lot of problems. Absolutely. So I just dropped my train of thought. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, one question I have, is it integrated with the rideshare apps? You had mentioned earlier that it starts recording when the ride starts and ends, right? Or does it just record 24/7?
So excellent question, Jason. We actually have 3 variants of the product. One is, the driver buys it, one if for the fleet companies, and one for the rideshare companies. So if the rideshare, for example, in India, we are working with Uber. So they are the customer, but they'll take it and send it to their drivers. Okay. So, but in that case, what happens is Uber, will know when the ride begins and when the ride ends. So they will send a message, and we have an API. We have a backend. We have, by the way, a portal at the back, like a web portal, which gives you like a fleet, like, hey, how many vehicles are there, all that sort of thing. How many are on the road, how many are uploading, how many are maybe in trouble, that sort of thing. Okay. But anyway, to answer your question, yes, we do have a complete thing, and we have actually worked on an API. We connect with Uber. We can connect with any rideshare app. So for example, they will tell us when the ride begins, ride ends, and if they want the video, they can actually extract it right away with the permission of the driver, of course.
Yeah, so you're saying if I buy it myself, though, it just is going to run 24/7.
Exactly, because we don't know when the ride, we don't have a notion of that. So we keep recording all the time for when, as soon as it's powered on, it records.
So there's not even a way for us to turn it off, right? Which is another benefit. Because if somebody gets into the car, it's like, hey, he turns it off. I was like, I can't.
Nope. Yeah. So 2 things, right? Once, if for example, if somebody does it deliberately, we'll know. We can, we have a portal. We can actually see what happened. Yep. Otherwise, it's there. As long as it's powered on, it's fine.
Right.
Okay. What is the cost to the driver if one of us were to buy it?
Yes. So we've got like a very simple model, $20 per month. That's it. And it includes the wireless connection. As you guys know, wireless is expensive, right? You go to your T-Mobile or whatever, that itself costs a lot of money. So we have created some interesting algorithms which will allow us to, optimize the bandwidth that it uses. So everything is included for $20. Earlier we used to charge an initial cost and then a monthly cost. Now we're just charging $20 a month. We also have a whole bunch of telematics. It gives you a score, like how did Jason drive on the last ride.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Don't give that to me. So,
but a lot of the fleet owners would love that because their vehicles, right? And they get some insurance breaks as well. So we can all add that for another $5.
And so, of course, I'm assuming there's full geolocation built into the device as well.
I'm sorry?
There's full geolocation built into
the device. We know where it is. Yeah, we'll know where
fleet owners. Yeah. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about the AI. A little bit more about what is it that is capable of doing, and talk a little bit about some of the warnings, and try and do it from an individual rideshare driver's perspective, because that's kind of what the audience here is, not so much fleet owners. Fleet owners is interesting, absolutely, but right now, how does it benefit, you and me, or me and Jason, or whatever, on the road?
So basically what we do is we use something called machine learning, right? So the machine, it actually learns patterns,
Okay.
So we have been very careful because it's an emerging area, and it's also not. It is not I would probably a controversial statement. It's not a science, in my opinion. Okay, meaning to say it doesn't always behave the same way you're expected to. Yep. Because see, what happens is there's cultural traits, things like that. So, but basically, for example, let me give you one example which we already implemented. It works fine. So one thing we are very, like you pointed out, Jasper. One thing we are very mindful about is credibility, right? The evidence has to be credible, right? So, for example, we've also seen some incidents where people who are smart enough, who are trying to attack, whatever, does something bad, the passenger, let's say, try to attack, right? They will try to prevent the recording, because, so for example, right, most of the guys know that there's a camera and all that stuff, right? There's a camera, very visible. So they will try to sort of immediately, cover it up. Somehow they'll put something or throw something at it or whatever. If you do something like that, our system will be able to pick it up that you're trying to interrupt the recording, and it'll start alarming. It'll alarm inside, because we have to give them a time. Hey, is it inadvertent? Is it deliberate? Whatever. But we tell them. Then we can easily send an SMS. We can do any number of things. You can send a 911 thing, a message to 911, whatever. As we go more, as we put more and more what we call learn more and more, right? We are able to detect things like, for example, somebody's suddenly getting mad and tries to attack the driver, for example, or gets really animated, those kind of things. But those are very, that is our goal, right? And the system is learning. The more it learns, the more sophisticated, more accurate it gets, right? So the challenge is, this is a very complex area because, some people are very sedate. Some people, culturally, like, I am, for example, you might have noticed, I move my arms a lot. And so if I did that, our system would pick up like, oh man, the guy's attacking the driver. When in reality, I'm just chatting with him, And we don't want this kind of thing. So we are very careful about that. And we are slowly introducing those kind of things, right?
Sure. Do you see that as being features that the driver can turn on and off? Or do you see that as being something that will be built in no matter what once they get safe? How do you see that in the system?
Yeah, we are able to, we are going to try to create, ideally at the moment, we don't want to give too much thing, right? Because see, every driver, the level of understanding, sophistication, what they do, they can mess it up, and then it'll be a nightmare for us to figure out what he did and what he didn't do, what the intention was and stuff like that. So currently we don't really sort of separate it out. But eventually, yes, because, these are value-added features, because as the system becomes more and more intelligent, and the system becomes more intelligent with millions and millions of rides, the more and more it does. So we are very careful. We try to collect data. Again, we are very mindful because of privacy issues. We try not to, keep people's faces and all those kind of stuff as much as possible. We try to record some things, but, that is more for maybe for the right, like I said, we have a variant of the platform for rideshare companies. So those guys they'll have millions. I mean, Uber drivers drive 1 million miles per day or something like that, right? So those can get the data and and they'll also obviously put all some sort of probably, for example, we are working in one of the countries, and one of the rideshare companies there, they will ask permission before a drive, on the app itself, that hey,
Yep.
it's going to be recorded and your data will be available to whatever, that kind of stuff. Again, there's a lot of regulations, again, depending on jurisdiction. For example, in the US, we cannot record voice in some of the states. We
Right.
can audio
Right.
record, for example.
We're very aware of that. Michigan is a single state.
Okay.
What's it called? Anyway, so yeah, we can record actually in here as long as the driver says you can.
Yeah, because it's a vehicle or whatever, right? So that's sort of. Yeah,
exactly.
But in New Jersey you can't, for example. So there are different places. So we try to keep it simple. I think what we're doing, Jason and Jasper, we're trying to, where we are at this moment in our belief is where they have nothing, no protections actually, I feel, right? And by the way, we are getting inundated by calls. Drivers are really appreciating the idea that they need to feel safe. Especially in DC, New York, people, they don't feel safe, right? So it's important. And so what we are offering is that they're happy that, hey, if something happens, there's somebody looking out for them. That sort of thing.
Right.
I have a question about the data. Who owns that data? Meaning, like, if it's my system or I'm paying the $20, you're uploading it. Yeah. Let's say, for instance, Uber says, hey, this guy, I want this camera from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Are you just giving that to them? Can we delete the videos? Like, how does that work?
Absolutely. The ownership. So if the driver purchases it is the driver's prerogative. Okay. So the driver, we will not, even with, and I told you we can press a button in case there's a trouble and we send it out to the rideshare company. In that, we explicitly said, do you want to send it? You don't have to send it. You can just send it to to our attorney. And it's completely, because it's in the vehicle, it's owned by the driver. No questions, nothing else. And if and we store it on the cloud for some time, so what happens typically is, well, you guys know better than I do. If there's an incident, right? The rideshare company calls you up and say, hey man, you're going to be deactivated. There was an incident. They will not be very explicit about what that incident with whom.
Right.
Maybe a little bit vague. So what we will do is we will send you, for example, data for like 72 hours, whatever. That's right. So you at least know the time frame. And another thing we also do, Jason and Jasper, is we don't send like complete. We can send the whole video, but we don't for many reasons. You're not going to sit like 72 hours and going through the videos, right? You're mad. So what we do is we'll do what's called a summary video, which will go very quickly. It's like a fast forward. You'll know exactly, right? You'll know when the passenger is there and all that. So you can home in quickly, and then you can ask us, and we will give you more detail about that particular thing.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Lastly, here I just have. I was looking at your website earlier, and it mentions that there is a potential of showing ads on the platform on the screen. Is that something you see as being built in future versions that so drivers can sign up for it and then sign up for like kind of like AdSense programs and stuff like that? Is that a goal of yours? And I'm asking because some drivers will say, hey, it's going to cost me $20 a month. How am I going to try and gain that back?
Exactly.
Right. So it's not because, I mean, yes, you and me and Jason, we don't care. $20 a month, that's just the cost of doing business and being safe. That's easy enough, right? But there's drivers out there, as you said, this is their livelihood. $20 means a lot to them. Is there a way for them to potentially gain that back or even, more?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. In fact, see, the way we've designed this stuff, right? So we are trying to mitigate the cost on the driver, okay? Because it benefits everybody. Because if there's an incident, right? If you knew what really transpired at an incident today, okay, just a quick snapshot, right? A passenger can falsely claim, hey, Jason, you're my driver. Man, Jason was really abusive to me. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I can go to the court and sue you, right? I can sue not only Jason, I can sue Uber or Lyft or whatever, your rideshare company. And guess what? I can have, man, this guy braked like crazy. My back is hurting. And so I'm charging him. And this happens, this very real problem.
Oh, probably daily.
Right? And by the way, insurance companies, insurance is the single largest cost item for rideshare companies, just so you know, right?
Oh, yeah.
anyway, so with this, right, we're benefiting the driver, we're benefiting passengers, because passengers also feel safe and all that stuff, and the insurance company, and including the rideshare company. So our goal, to answer your question, Jasper, if we offer, what we are trying to do is, by offering the service, right, we're saying, hey, I'm a driver, I'm having all this stuff, right? I'm making it easier for Uber also, because, or Lyft or whoever, my rideshare app, because I'm giving you, if there's a problem, we'll give you video. So why don't, is it benefiting you? Yeah, you're saving a lot of cycles, going and investigating and all that. So you're doing it what you did in a couple of weeks in a matter of minutes. So guess what? Why don't you pay $2, chip in $2 for the, or $5 to the, the monthly charges? That's how we envision it. And same thing with the logo or something like that, right? Hey, give me another $5, right? And there are all these ad share platforms where we can actually, so you're driving on Fifth Avenue, for example, all the time, hey, a lot of eyeballs, so maybe I can get another $10. I mean, per month, right? It's not a big deal. So guess what? The net cost for the driver will be like, well, literally nothing. So
are you envisioning a world then where when we sign up for Uber or Lyft, we'll say, or in our account, we'll go in and say, we have a display ride. Oh, that's fine. Now you're gonna get $5 a month or whatever. Is that the world you're envisioning?
Absolutely. When I do, my goal is to, if Jasper buys our thing, we go and tell, hey, Uber already is telling, hey, let me know, right? So the more and more people buy, our vision is more and more people buy display ride. Then Uber will say, and by the way, we are already connected. I said we have an API and all that stuff. So Uber will say, man, we already connected. So I can actually drag I don't have to call up the driver or something. If I need it, fine. But I'll pay $5 because, it's my benefit too. So we think that kind of stuff, and it wins for everybody. Uber's insurance cost goes down. The number of incidents go down. The brand is not affected. You know what I mean? And the insurance guys.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
awesome.
No, I mean, yeah, but it's the same way as, I mean, when we had one of the buildings we had my office in, we had a cheaper insurance if we had a local
security camera,
security system. Exactly. So that's the same principle here.
Everybody wins, right? The driver, the passenger feels safe, like, hey, it's recorded. In a lot of countries, in India, for example, women are scared to use Uber in the night because they for whatever reasons, right? So now they know it's being recorded. So it means now a huge increase in revenues for Uber. So you know what I mean? It sort of wins everywhere.
Yeah, well, Abdul, thank you very much. You're very passionate about your product, which I totally dig. I love that. Yep. So where's the best place to find it? At the website displayride.com?
Displayride.com, and we have, especially for drivers, we've just made it even more easier. We just put like a simple, like a button on the homepage. You can just click it. It'll take you to the page, and then you can see what benefits, and then if you decide, you can order it, and we will ship it and all that stuff. And also, we are constantly innovating, so we are adding features. Just today, another small thing, we're putting a sticker out, like saying, hey, this vehicle record is video records. Again, a small thing before a passenger gets in. Small things, but it's impact. So
amazing.
Great.
Well, thank you for taking the time. This has been nice, and I'm sure we'll connect in the future.
Absolutely.
And, good luck to you. Thanks, Abdul.
My pleasure. It was fantastic talking to you. Anytime you or anybody, any of your audience wants, hey, info@displayride.com or displayride.com, let us know, and we'd be more than happy to serve you.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night.